Hello besties, and welcome back to a new episode of Hot Girl Habits podcast with me, your host Ellie Baird. I have been so MIA on here recently. I've just been so busy with work and things like that, but I thought I would hop on and do a special little episode for my 27th birthday. I actually can't believe I'm 27 and it's fell on a Wednesday, which is obviously podcast day, so it was meant to be, we were meant to record a podcast today. So for my 27th birthday, we're going to talk about what I've learned since my frontal lobe has developed, because we're 2 years into the full development now, guys. So it's time to figure out what has happened, what has changed, because I actually feel like my life's changed a lot since I turned 25, which is obviously when your frontal lobe supposedly fully develops, which I believe it. Like, I know it literally is science, so there's not much to believe or not believe, like it is true, but I just feel like there's so much different, like, in my life, in my brain, like I just feel different. So I thought we could talk about it. So I would say jumping right into the episode today, guys, jumping right into it. So I would say on like a relationship standpoint, let's start there. We're going to look at all like the different areas of life. So on that standpoint, I think something I've probably learned a lot in the last 2 years is that like people do change, and you know, you're not necessarily always going to have the same people in your life, and that can be because maybe you've made friendships where you maybe think people are a certain way, and then over time of getting to know them, they're really different, or they change, and that's fine. Like, you know, like I said, my frontal lobe developed. I'm probably really different to what I was at 25, and I guess vice versa. Some people change in different ways, and that is absolutely fine. And then also I think through this age range, like life is changing in general, and not on a stance of like, you know, that you're not going to be friends with them, but like you are going to end up in different sort of phases of life to your friends, different seasons, things like that, and that's fine. Like, I think about it, and so many of my friends have kids now, like so many of my friends are literally married or getting married, and yeah, just in different phases of life to me, in so many ways. You know, some of them, they don't live local, they've moved abroad, and it doesn't mean that you won't have a friendship with them, it just means that friendship will look a little bit different. And I think it's nice to actually embrace that and, you know, be able to kind of enjoy those things as an outsider, if that makes sense. So like, you know, for example, one of my really good friends lives in Dubai, and as much as, you know, obviously our friendship isn't the same as when she lived here, but we still have a great friendship. We talk all the time, like over WhatsApp, we have lovely little catch-ups, and like we met up last year in Santorini, she's coming here this year, and like we'll make the most of it when she is here, and then the following year we'll probably meet up somewhere else. And as much as obviously like really we're only seeing each other once a year, it doesn't mean we can't have a great friendship, and that's just what adult friendships are like sometimes. And in that same breath, you know, sometimes, you know, you've just got to accept that like we're all busy and your friend might live down the road, but actually, you know, especially like I said, a lot of my friends have kids and stuff, and you're just not going to see them as much, and that's fine. It's just important to kind of find, you know, how you're going to do that friendship, how often you are going to see each other. Are you going to, you know, mostly see them with their child? Are you going to make sort of more adult plans like in the evenings when they've got childcare, like, or a mix of the two is usually the one to go for. But it's important to remember that like you have to fit, you know, your friendship around both of your lives, and if that does mean, okay, we're going to go to soft play, we're going to go to soft play, it's absolutely fine. So yeah, it's important to just remember that, you know, things aren't just always going to be the same, things are going to change, but that's exciting, and just, you know, roll with the kicks. And in your own life, you know, you're going to go through phases where things are different as well. So it's just important to make sure, yeah, that you know, embrace the changes in your friends' lives, and I'm sure they'll embrace yours back as well within that. And I think that's like the beauty of friendship sometimes, like we all live such different lives. It's enjoyable to kind of, yeah, just go with the flow of what's going on in everyone's lives. And in that same breath, I think something to really embrace are those friends who you can go ages without speaking to, and then when you see them or you chat with them, like everything's just completely the same, like nothing's really changed. I think they're the little best people ever, because yeah, like I said, life is just busy. I think the older you get, the more you generally have sort of going on day to day, and yeah, I think it's just important to sort of remember that, you know, friendships are never going to be the same as they were at like school, where you see all those people every single day, and it, you know, fit into your life. And I guess as you get older as well, you maybe have jobs where you're seeing people all the time, at work, and then you get a new job, and it doesn't mean you're not friends with those people, but you're just going to have a different friendship because you don't see them all the time, and that's totally normal. So I'd say on a friendship front, that's something I've like really come to terms with and learned and experienced over like the last 2 years, and yeah, I'm quite enjoying it as well. I think I like the dynamic I have with all my friends, and yeah, and also I think being open to, you know, making new friends as you kind of go into your later 20s, because, you know, the more you sort of learn yourself and learn the hobbies you like and what you like to do, the kind of better it's going to be to meet people that have those same hobbies and interests. So yeah, I think that's important to remember, like never be closed off to like new friendships. They're always a good thing. And then I guess on a romantic perspective in terms of relationships, so I've been with my boyfriend now for like a year and a half. So obviously I was like 25 and a half to be precise. The frontal lobe was there when we met. And something I really learned with that was that I genuinely, I'm telling you now, when I turned 25, I literally wasn't interested in having a relationship at all. Like, I just wasn't bothered. Like, it just wasn't an interest to me. Like, I was like, I'm just like, you know, with my friends, working, traveling, like doing all the things, and I'm not really that bothered. And then I swear I reached probably like maybe like November time. So my birthday's obviously July, and I don't know what flicked in my head, but I was like, actually, no, I would quite like a relationship. And I think once I started sort of putting out the energy, maybe when I was talking to people or whatever, that like actually that is what I want, I think it made me realise like, oh, okay, right. And then I changed my energy, and then I met my boyfriend. And I think it's interesting because if I met him maybe even 6 months before, when I was in the mindset of like, I don't want a relationship, I think that completely, people say like you'll find it when you're not looking, but will you? Because I think it's all well and good to be not looking, but I think like if you don't want it, you won't find it, in my opinion, because yeah, I just think you need to be like giving out the right energy, giving out the right vibes, and then you'll meet someone that kind of matches that, and you both want the same thing, and like, yeah, you're both ready to kind of commit the right kind of energy, and both put that effort in, and yeah, and I think if you are like trying to date, and you know, maybe you're dating someone now and it feels as though it's all on your end or whatever, I would genuinely, it sounds awful, but I think it's probably wise to have a think about like, does the other person actually want a relationship? Like, do they eat? And it might not even be you, like in terms of they might actually quite like you, but if they aren't in that mindset, I just don't think it could really work. So I think for me that was something I really developed as I just got that little bit older. Like, I actually wanted a relationship essentially, and I wanted like the lifestyle we have now. I love it. Like, it's so fun. I love doing everything together, like just sharing our days. I think it's really fun, and I think my earlier 20s, I genuinely, like, it's funny as well because you think, oh, I only meet people that are dicks, but it's like, actually no, like you were bringing that because you almost like wanted that avoidant person to an extent because you were being avoidant. And so something to think about there on the romantic relationship front, but I think a lot of it is kind of reflecting what you actually want, and then eventually you will find it. And then moving on to health and fitness. So obviously I am an online fitness coach, a personal trainer, and my life very much does revolve around fitness. I just love fitness. It makes me feel so good. I really enjoy it. It's such a part of my routine, and to be honest, it has been for pretty much my whole life. Like, I just love it. I danced when I was younger, and then I started going to the gym when I was about 16, alongside dance, and I just got so into it. I just always enjoyed it. I love like the endorphin boost from doing it. I love how it makes me feel. Obviously, you've got the benefits of how it makes you look, but for me, a massive factor is how it makes you feel. And I think since being 25 as well, and I would say actually I think I've kind of always had this mindset, but I think I more so maybe notice it in the people around me who were the same age as me. Over the last few years, I've really developed that mindset of like, we get to exercise, and it's not a case of like, I have to exercise because, for example, I want to look a certain way, or because I want to be healthier. Like, it's like, no, I get to do it because my body lets me do it, and because like I have those fitness levels where I can go for a run. Like, you know, not everyone could get up and go for a run, and I think that's a really good mindset to have. And also the mindset of kind of that you know, like, you can do anything you put your mind to. So, you know, maybe you've never been for, I'm just going to use the run example. I've been on a run this morning, so maybe that's why that's on my brain. But if you are someone who's maybe never been for a run, I think it's really cool to kind of have the mindset of like, I could go out and build that up and be able to run like a 5k, a 10k, a half marathon, whatever it is. So I think that's a really amazing mindset. And I would also say with health and fitness, and again, I've been into this for a long time, so maybe for me this isn't just a like since I've been 25 thing, but I think it's interesting to have the mindset of like that you can do multiple things and you don't need to just stick with one area of like fitness or whatever. Like, you know, I would say I do like hybrid training, so I do a mix of sort of strength training and like running. I also do aerial fitness. Like I do quite a few different things, and for me that really works. I really enjoy that. And obviously an important thing to remember, I guess, is that to an extent, like if you want to get really good at one thing, you probably do want to be making sure that's all really centered around that. And again, it still doesn't mean never doing it. Like for example, one of my friends I did a run with at the weekend, she does dance and she goes to the gym, she runs and she does dance, like I don't know what you call it, like commercial dance, yeah. And we were talking about it and she was like, I'm not really loving like the gym training at the moment. But then she was like, but I know it benefits dance. And I think that's like a good way to kind of think of it in terms of like, there's a benefit to doing it. And I guess same with like, if you're a runner, you still need to maintain, you know, strength. You still need to maintain mobility. So with that, you don't just want to go for runs. Like all of them do complement each other. But for me, I just actually enjoy like all the different aspects. And I think that's good. I think that's fine. I think it's good to have variation. And yeah, and also like the older you get, I think you really deep that like, you just don't need to compare yourself to others, because I think that is one thing, especially maybe within fitness, where, you know, obviously I work in the fitness industry too, which is quite an interesting one, but it's really easy, I think, working in our industry to compare yourself to like, oh, like you see people that do bodybuilding and you're like, oh God, like I wish I looked like them. But then you see people that, or like, you know, could do aspects of that is what you want, but then you also see people that run like marathons and you're like, oh, I wish I could have that stamina. Then you see people who powerlift and you're like, I wish I could lift that much. Like, and I think it's important to remember like you're just on your own journey, do what you enjoy, find what works for you, and it's going to look different for everyone. And also like, you know, your healthy body isn't going to look the same as someone else's, and also to remember that maybe someone might to you look better than you, but that doesn't mean that they're healthier than you, that doesn't mean they enjoy their training, that doesn't mean that like you need to aim for that aesthetic goal, because that's not the journey you're on necessarily. So yeah, I think that's something I've really learned kind of getting older in terms of health and fitness, to just do what I enjoy, do what aligns with me, do what meets my goals, and kind of just not worry about what everyone else is doing. Like just, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like you're on your journey, you're doing your thing. And don't get me wrong, like you can use people as inspiration, especially if they have goals that align with yours. But like I always think, for example, with running, it's interesting. So I did a 10k, the Northwich 10k with my friend at the weekend. And it was quite interesting because literally all I cared about when I was running was like, I want to be I did a 10k 4 weeks ago, which is called the Two Castles Run between Kenilworth and Warwick Castle. I've vlogged all of these on my YouTube as well, guys, if you are interested in like seeing how they went and all of that. But all I was interested in the 10k I did the other day was getting a better pace. I basically wanted to try and just get a quicker pace than what I'd got 4 weeks before, which isn't a long amount of time, but I knew I'd been doing the training. I knew roughly what pace I was going to run out per kilometre, and I knew I'd built that up a little bit with my training. And obviously 4 weeks isn't that long, but I did it and I was really, really proud of myself. Like honestly, when I got to the end, I nearly could have cried. I was so happy. And same with the run that was 4 weeks before that. Like, so I'd done a half marathon 8 weeks before that, and my goal with doing the first 10k was like, right, I just want to build up the pace I did in the half marathon, and yeah, so again, when I was running that one, all I was thinking about was, right, like I just want to make sure I'm at a good pace. And it's not a race between you and the person next to you, it's just literally a case of, you know, right, I want to get this pace. And you know, there would have been some people at those events who in their head they were like, I just want to get to the end, even if that means I have to walk a bit. There would have been some people that maybe were like, I just want to get to the end without stopping, like I want to get to the end without walking. And you know, everyone's got their own goals, so I think the older you get, you realise and appreciate that a bit more. And I was actually on my run this morning and I was thinking about the run at the weekend, and I was thinking what I actually think makes those events so amazing is like that everyone that's here has trained to some capacity for this event. Like there's such a build up for every individual, and like that build up looks really different for every single person. I think that's really cool. Like I was thinking about it when I was running, and I was like, because I'm going to do a half marathon again soon, and I was thinking like, oh, like everyone else that's doing that half marathon will also be training at the moment for it. Like, and I think that's really cool. And I think that's the same, like whether you're in the gym and you're kind of seeing people go and do their workouts, like we've all got different goals. And even with like my online coaching clients, like they've all got different goals. They're all going and doing their personalized workouts based around them. Some of their workouts are going to look easier to others, some would look harder, but it suits that person, it suits their level, it suits their goals. So yeah, I think the older you get, you kind of realise like everyone's just on their own journey. Never be embarrassed to like, you know, try a new sport, try a new activity, go to the gym for the first time, because that's you bettering yourself, working on yourself, working towards your goals. And if anyone's judging you for that, that just says a lot about them and not about you. So yeah, I'd say that's something I've kind of noticed. And I'd just say one last thing on the fitness perspective is that your goals are going to change. Not everything's always going to align with you. Like at the moment, I haven't done aerial for a little bit of time purely because I just don't have the time to get there right now, and I miss it so much. But I think I'll reach a point definitely where I do it again, probably quite soon, to be honest. But I was like, right, okay, realistically, it's not that I'm not training, like I'm training so hard, but it's just the one thing that doesn't quite fit in, and it's also the thing that probably doesn't really align with my goals in terms of like, I'm really working on like I guess my cardiovascular fitness at the moment. So yeah, and I was like, that's fine, it's okay, that is life. And yeah, you're going to have phases and eras where you're prioritising different things. Like there's definitely been eras where all my training has basically focused on me getting really good at aerial. So it's quite interesting, like the differences in the different times, and that's fine, that is literally life. So don't let anyone make you kind of feel bad about putting less time into things or whatever it is. And yeah, I think that's just something to kind of think about. But I also think an important thing between that age as well, just one last thing on the health and fitness front, is that, but I'd say between 25 and 27, it's definitely that era where a lot more of my friends are kind of getting more into being active and healthy. And I notice it like even with clients, I'd say it's quite a common age where people kind of are like, I've never really worked out before and I want to start. Because I think maybe it's an age where you do start to notice like in your body, maybe that your body's aging, and not that we're old at all, but you know, like if you've been like sedentary sat at a desk maybe since you finished uni, so since you were 22, you're now like 3 years into that, 4 years into that, 5 years into that, and suddenly you're like, oh actually, okay, like, you know, I am getting out of breath walking upstairs, or I'm getting aches and pains, or I am getting lower back pain, like maybe I need to strengthen my glutes and my core or whatever it is. So I think, yeah, it's definitely an age where I think people have become more aware of just their health and fitness from a nutrition perspective as well. Like I feel like people are just a bit more conscious about what they consume, I guess for all those same reasons too. Like obviously eventually things do catch up with you in life. So yeah, just remember it's never too late to start. Sometimes people think that like, you know, at a certain age they're like, oh, I can't go to the gym and not know what I'm doing at my age, but absolutely not. Like again, if anyone's judging you in the gym, that's on them. Bad vibes from them. So yeah, and then I guess from a career perspective, something I've kind of learnt from 25 to 27, I've had quite a few changes in my career between the last 2 years. So I was doing literally full-time PT on the gym floor, working like 16 hours a day, literally from the age of 21 until I guess 26. So a long time to be working those hours. But I absolutely loved it, and it's, yeah, I just love PT. I think it's so enjoyable. I love helping people reach their goals. But I have to say, so in the last year, I've done like a business, what would you call it? Like coaching, mentorship, basically, program where basically it's all about building my online coaching, and I've been really focusing on that. I've like dabbled in it before, but I've really focused on it, really built it up and really optimized it. And like every month I make it bigger and better and make changes to it and implement new things. And I think something to think with your career, whether you obviously are like me, work for yourself, or whether you work for like a corporation, whatever you do, a good thing to think is that like change is inevitable, and what suited you and maybe your lifestyle and you enjoy day to day or whatever, maybe a year ago might not suit you now around like all the other factors in life. Like for me, especially getting into a relationship, I was like, I can't really work 16 hours a day anymore. Like it's not really working. So it's good to remember that sort of change is inevitable and that it's going to happen. And whether that is kind of, you might do a role, especially if you work for someone else, you might do a role and then get like a promotion and your day-to-day looks really different. And you're like, oh, I do like what I was doing before. And just because you like it and it's good, doesn't mean it couldn't kind of be better and you couldn't change it. And yeah, and what I love as well with online coaching is obviously I'm able to help people like all over the country. So I'm not restricted like geographically. Whereas before I'd even have people in my own city who were like, oh, your gym's too far away. And it's a shame because that's like a barrier for people then. Whereas now people can be anywhere, and it's good because I can help them like 24/7. I feel like I can make such a bigger impact on their lives and make sure I get them to their goals kind of even quicker and, you know, in an even more sort of well-rounded, sustainable way. So yeah, I think that's been a really good thing for me to realise that, like, you know, sometimes actually you are going to find ways to make things bigger and better and, you know, change them, and it might look different and it might not look how your life's always looked, but that's not a bad thing. So yeah, so change is inevitable, and even if that is you at like 26 deciding you don't like your career path and you want to completely, you know, change your whole career, you can do that. Like, and I know it can be hard because you're like, but I've put all this time into this thing I already do, but just don't believe in that like sunken cost fallacy where it's like, okay, just because I've already put this time into it, I have to stick with it. If you're not enjoying it, just change it. And for me, it wasn't a case of not enjoying it. It was more so a case of like, okay, one thing holding people back right now from joining my coaching is that I don't offer necessarily like online coaching all the time. Like, what could I do here? How can I make that good? And I've implemented it and I absolutely love it. And it's funny, I actually didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I enjoy the on the floor PT, but it's so good. I think in a way it's like even better because if those girls want to do workouts 5 days a week, you know, we'll like have our calls, we'll have our check-ins, like it's so good. I just think I'm able to really help them and really fit everything around their day a bit more, and just make, yeah, like fitness more realistic to them. So I think for me, it made sense, and it probably wasn't what, if you asked me like 5 years before, when I was really, well, even 2 years before, when I was really in the thick of like, PT in full time, I'd have been like, no, I'll always just PT, like I'm not bothered about doing online. And it's really weird, like now I do it, I just love it so much. I think it's so good, and you know, you can change your mind about things, you can change what you enjoy, and also you might try things in a different way and enjoy them even more. Like I definitely think the way I do online coaching now, I enjoy it the most I've ever enjoyed sort of any form of online coaching I've done. So it's so good, and I just think, yeah, like change is inevitable, don't be scared of change. And also remembering that, like, if you change it and you don't like it, you can go back to the other thing. Like, it's fine. You can find a new route and nothing's permanent. And I think that's always a good thing to remember. Okay, and then moving on to money. I think money is a bit of a touchy subject sometimes. I feel like people don't really like to talk about money. But I would say between 25 and 27, something I've really learned on the money front is the importance of sort of investing in certain things. And I think back to my past as well, so like even pre-frontal lobe development, and I think about things I did invest in, and I think they are like the best things I've ever really done. Like, so in terms of when I was like 16, 17 and I was first going to the gym, I got myself a personal trainer so I could learn form, I could learn everything in the gym, and be really confident there. And I look back and I think that was such a good thing for me to do because it taught me the basics. It then built my confidence and then essentially led to me having a career in the industry. Whereas I think if I went in and didn't really know, would I have ever got so into it? Would I have seen progress? Would I have carried on? So I think for me that was like a huge game changer, and I think I'm so glad back then that I spent the money on that. And also obviously this year I did my mentorship program, which was a huge investment. And again, I think it's completely changed my career, and I'm so glad I've invested the money in that because I've just seen so many benefits. And yeah, I think I've also opened a pension, which is like not very interesting, is it? But I kind of thought like, I work for myself and I'm definitely getting obviously nearer to the age where, you know, like, not that I'm getting into retirement, I'm literally not that old, I'm 27, but you know, I need to think about those things and put in like a small amount each year. So that's something I opened as well. And it's interesting because I've got one that's like I don't really know what the name is, but it's essentially like to do with stocks. So they put your money into like a low risk thing and then it like slowly gains like interest over time, which I think is really good because if you think about it, like that money sat in your bank account is kind of like losing value day to day, whereas if you invest that into like education, like your fitness, your health, like stuff that is literally going to change your life, like it just makes so much sense. And even kind of I'm getting a little bit of work done on my house, and I think previously I'd have been a bit worried to spend my savings, but then you think like actually no, like it is bad and adding value to the house, so it's an investment and also I get to live in it and enjoy it. So I think it's definitely a good way to think about things that I probably when I was younger used to more be like I should just save my money, but like it's actually doing nothing in your bank account, or you could use that money and like change your life in a really positive way, even maybe allow yourself to make more money, and like just why not, like life's literally too short. Like if you die and that money's in your bank, like well, your family have to pay like inheritance tax to even have it. So yeah, I think that's something I've kind of really learned the last few years. Like, you have to enjoy your life. You have to, invest in yourself, invest in, if it's your business, if you're self-employed. And yeah, those things make a massive change. Okay, and then moving on to just some kind of random things, I guess. Part of them, I guess, that they're like between 25 and 27, I've learned maybe about like aging or self-care or that sort of area. Don't really know what to label this area. Okay, these are just short and sweet. Your skincare is more important than your makeup routine. Spend more money on your skincare than your makeup, because if you're covering up bad skin, it's not going to look good anyway. If you were using not so good makeup, like a bit cheaper, to cover up great skin, it's going to look fab. So do that. Hair masks every week. Honestly, game changer. I only get my hair cut like once a year and it's in such good condition still, purely because I do a hair mask once a week. I use castor oil. I put it in the morning where I'm going to wash my hair, slick bun, and then, game changer. Trust me, look after your hair, look after your skin. Moisturize your full body every day. This is something I do. I use the Aveeno cream. I love Aveeno. I think it's so good. That oil's insane, and yeah, that makes a huge difference as well. Sun cream, especially on sunny days, but you should really wear it every day. I'm not gonna lie, I only really remember when it's sunny, but that's something I need to remember more, especially if you are somewhere a bit of a hotter climate. Really look after your skin, because you will notice the signs of aging, and I think as you kind of get older you realise, like, if I can prevent those things, why not? Another thing is hydration. Make sure you're getting at least 2.5 litres of water, ideally 3 every single day. Carry around that Stanley, do whatever you need to do it, but that makes a massive difference to you. Limit your alcohol intake. The older you get, the worse the hangovers get. It takes you longer to recover. You realise how it affects your energy levels, your nutrition, your fitness routine. So yeah, limit alcohol, have it on special occasions, set yourself, rules to an extent of like, right, if you're someone that maybe currently drinks 5 days a week, you could be like, right, okay, I'm only going to drink 2, and just slowly cut it down, because that will make a massive difference. And obviously your body's having to break down that toxin every time you drink it. Like, you don't want to be putting pressure on your body like that. So that's definitely something to think about. Limiting processed food. Again, your body's having to break that down. It's hard work for your body, and you'll feel so much more like fueled and better from eating like whole foods. So definitely like implement as many whole foods into your diet as possible. You don't need to never eat processed foods, but again, it's just like having like an 80-20 approach of like, okay, if 80% of my food is like whole foods and healthy, that would be amazing. A high protein diet, because again, this is going to make us feel so much more fueled. It's going to help us recover from our exercise. It's good for your skin, it's good for your hair, good for your energy levels, it's good for everything. So high protein is definitely a way to go. Base all your meals essentially around protein and veggies, and you will be thriving. And finally, getting a good night's sleep each night. I feel like the older you get, the worse you feel if you don't get a good night's sleep. So yeah, really prioritise getting that in. I think that's something important I've learned in the last few years. I just feel awful if I don't sleep. But when I was younger, do you ever think back to like when I was working, when I was like, at kind of first bit of uni, whatever, and like I used to start work at 6 a.m. at the weekend, and me and my friends would go out until like 1 a.m, and then we'd all go to work after like 4 hours sleep. I can't think of anything worse. So yeah, you kind of do reach a point where you're like, I'm not that age, I'm not, I don't want to be doing that. It's not worth it, kind of thing. I'd prefer to go and have an enjoyable day the next day versus being hungover. And like, yeah, and just being honest with yourself as well about what you do enjoy. Like, do you actually enjoy going out that much? Do you enjoy getting that drunk? Like, and yeah, just being real with yourself on that front and making choices accordingly. And yeah, that is pretty much everything. So what I've learned since my frontal lobe has developed, they are all the things that spring to mind immediately. Obviously there will be so much more. But yeah, hopefully you can kind of take some of that into your life, whether your frontal lobe hasn't developed yet and you're like, oh, what am I missing essentially? What maybe am I not realising yet? Or maybe if you're someone who is the same age as me, maybe you just agree, maybe you're like, oh yeah, I thought about that. And I mean, I guess it must be different for everyone. Like maybe even when our frontal lobes developed, maybe we don't all have the same realisations. I don't know, but that's what's changed for me anyway. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Hot Girl Habits podcast. I will be back with more soon. I've just had a lot going on with launching the online coaching side of my business, and it's just kept me so busy. And yeah, so I do need to get a new series of the poddy out soon, but I thought I would just hop on and do this one-off one for now. But there are so many episodes of the podcast you can catch up on. So it's Hot Girl Habits podcast on all podcast listening platforms, so Spotify, Apple, all of them, and I also have social media for the page, which is Hot Girl Habits Podcast, and I also have my own social media, so it's Ellie Bird Fitness on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and then my personal Instagram as well is Elbird, ELLBIRD. So make sure you stay in touch with me, and I will let you know when I am launching new episodes of the poddy. It should be soon. Also, if you have ideas of things you want me to talk about on the podcast, obviously let me know and I can make those episodes. So yeah, thank you for listening, guys. Have an amazing week, and I will see you very soon. So yeah, stay in touch, and I will be launching more of the podcast pretty soon. Bye.